I remember the exact sound of the ceiling fan that night. A slow, lazy clicking, like a tired heart refusing to speed up. The smell of fried onions still lingered in the house, and my mother's television murmured in the next room. Everything was ordinary, painfully ordinary, right up until the moment my world tilted. I had just finished explaining my idea, my app, my late nights, the business plan I'd written and rewritten until the words blurred together. My hands were shaking a little, though I kept them under the table so no one would see. All I wanted was for someone I loved to say, "I believe you can do it." My sister leaned back on the sofa, her arms crossed, her eyes shining with amusement instead of pride. "Please," she said, laughing lightly, "stop playing CEO." The words were casual, dismissive, effortless. But they didn't land casually, they hit like cold water. The room went silent the way rooms do after someone drops something fragile, and everyone waits to see if it broke. She didn't stop there. People rarely stop after the first cut. "You can't even handle your own life yet," she continued. "You're not made for business. You're too soft, too emotional. Real CEO are different. You need to accept reality. Soft." The word stayed with me more than the sentence. Soft, like a fruit that bruises easily. Soft, like something that spoils first. I felt suddenly smaller in my own home, as if the walls were closing in, just to fit the version of me she believed in. Her fiancé, Daniel, sat beside her. Polished shoes straight back, the face of someone who'd never had to explain his dreams because everyone already assumed he'd succeed. He gave me a sympathetic smile, the kind people use when they've already decided you won't make it. No one said anything, not my mother, not my brother. Silence agreed with her. I swallowed my reply, the way I had swallowed 1,000 small disappointments before. But somewhere under the hurt, something stood up inside me. Not anger, not hatred, a quiet, stubborn promise. One day, I won't need to explain myself to anyone. That night, in my small room with peeling paint and a window that didn't quite close right, I cried into my pillow so no one would hear. It wasn't dramatic sobbing, just silent tears, the kind that burn because they carry words you never said out loud. I stared at the ceiling and whispered to the darkness, "Just give me time." No one believed in me, but time did. The world doesn't change loudly. It shifts in quiet rooms while everyone else is asleep. My life did too. After that night, I stopped arguing. I stopped defending my dreams like a guilty person defending themselves in court. Instead, I learned to nod, to smile, to say, "Maybe you're right," while inside me another voice whispered, "Watch me." I worked ordinary jobs that drained me during the day and built my future when the city went dark. My laptop became my only witness. My screen light painted the walls when electricity failed, and I worked by battery and stubbornness. My friends went out, scrolled, slept, and I stayed up studying business, code, marketing, investors, everything no one thought I could understand. Failure became a language, and eventually I became fluent in it. People think motivation is loud, it isn't. It's the quiet memory of someone laughing at you. Every rejection email felt like a slap. Sometimes I stared at my empty bank account and wondered if my sister had been right. Maybe I was soft, maybe I wasn't built for this. Maybe dreams were only meant for people like Daniel, people already standing on higher ground. But then I remembered that night, the smirk, the word CEO spoken like a joke, and instead of breaking, something inside me straightened its spine. So I kept going. My first product failed. My second barely crawled. My third almost worked. Every attempt taught me something, and slowly the pieces began to fit. Users came, feedback came, then interest came, real interest, from real investors who didn't laugh, who didn't ask me to be realistic. The first time someone called me sir, I turned around to see who they were talking to. It was me. I didn't post quotes online or tell my family every step. Silence had become comfortable, sacred. My success grew like roots underground before anyone saw the tree above the surface. I rented a tiny office, then a larger one. I hired people smarter than me and learned from them. My company expanded city by city, deal by deal, until the numbers on paper no longer looked like numbers from my life. One morning, I stood in front of floor-to-ceiling glass, overlooking a city that used to ignore me. The polished table stretched across the $180 million boardroom with my name etched in subtle letters on the door. I waited for the feeling of revenge to wash over me. It never did. Instead, I felt calm, the calm of someone who survived their own doubt. I wasn't the person who cried into a pillow anymore, but that memory lived inside me, quietly, like a seed. And fate, patient as ever, was already arranging the moment when my past would walk straight back into that shining room. The boardroom that morning felt like a sunlit stage. The glass walls held the skyline like a framed painting, and the city below hummed with traffic, unaware that my past was about to walk straight into the heart of my present. My team settled into their seats, laptops open, voices low and focused. We were preparing for a major investment meeting, the kind that reshapes entire companies. I reviewed the agenda calmly, the way I had learned to do after years of pretending not to be afraid. My name was on the door now, on the contracts, in the conversations, but inside, somewhere deep, the memory of being told to stop playing CEO still existed like a scar, healed but sensitive when touched. The door opened. I didn't look up at first. People always moved in and out before meetings, but the room felt quieter than usual, and silence has a weight you can feel in your bones. I lifted my eyes. My sister walked in. For a heartbeat, everything in me stopped moving. Thoughts, breath, time. She looked almost exactly as I remembered her. Confident posture, carefully chosen clothes, perfume that arrived a second before she did. But behind her walked someone else, Daniel, her fiancé, the man who once watched me shrink into myself while she laughed. Except this time, he wasn't just a guest. He was the representative of the investment firm coming to negotiate with us. He walked confidently, then hesitated when he finally saw me at the head of the table. My assistant's voice sounded distant and formal. "Sir, this is Daniel Carver, lead partner, and this is MS, Amelia, my sister." I finished, my voice calm. They both froze in the doorway. Her eyes widened as realization spread slowly across her face. Shock came first, then disbelief, then something more fragile, shame. "You're the CEO?" she whispered, as if the word itself tasted strange. "I was told to stop playing CEO." I replied gently. So I stopped playing. We took our seats. I led the meeting. I walked them through numbers, growth charts, projections, strategies built with sleepless nights and relentless persistence. My executives listened to me with respect. The board asked my opinion before speaking. Authority didn't have to be raised, it simply existed. I watched Daniel's perfect composure soften into sincerity. Every sentence I spoke rewrote the version of me they had once believed in. Near the end, he finally asked, "What pushed you to build something this big?" I glanced at my sister, not with anger, not with triumph, just truth. "Someone once told me I wasn't capable," I said, "so I decided to find out for myself." She looked down, blinking fast, her silence now heavier than any insult she had ever spoken. The meeting ended, and the real conversation was still waiting. The room emptied slowly after the meeting, chairs sliding back, footsteps echoing against polished floors. My executives left first, then the investors. Papers were gathered, laptops closed, polite goodbyes spoken. Soon, only 3 of us remained in the wide glass room, suspended above the city. My sister, her fiancé, and me. She stood near the window, staring at the skyline like it might offer answers she couldn't form. Daniel spoke quietly with someone on the phone, then slipped out, giving us space he instinctively knew we needed. For the first time in years, it was just the 2 of us, no audience, no family, no laughter that cut. "I don't even know what to say," she whispered. Her voice was smaller than I remembered, not weak, just honest. She turned toward me, eyes shining in a way that had nothing to do with pride and everything to do with regret. "I was cruel," she continued, words tumbling now that the first one had escaped. "I made fun of you. I didn't believe in you. I thought I was being realistic, but I was just scared. Scared you'd fail, scared you'd get hurt, and instead of supporting you, I tried to pull you back." I listened, not to argue, not to punish, just to finally hear the truth she had never said before. "I'm sorry," she finished, voice breaking. For years I thought those words would feel like victory. But standing there, looking at the woman who had once been my closest friend before she became my harshest critic, all I felt was calm. Not triumph, peace. I'm not angry anymore. I said quietly, "You don't have to carry this like a weight forever. You just should have let me try." She nodded, tears spilling now without drama. "You did more than try," she said, laughing weakly through the tears. "You built an empire." We stood side by side at the window. The city stretched beneath us, cars like tiny sparks, buildings reaching upward as if they, too, believed in impossible things. She looked at my reflection in the glass, not the view. "You really are a CEO," she murmured, half in wonder. "I always was," I answered. "I just needed time to grow into it." That was my revenge, not her tears, not her regret, not the shock on her face in my boardroom. My revenge was becoming the person I promised myself I would be. My revenge was my freedom. As she left, she paused at the door. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. When the door closed, the room was silent again, filled only with sunlight and the quiet hum of success that no longer needed to be proven. I stood at the head of the table not to gloat, not to remember the pain, but to honor the younger version of me who once cried into a pillow and whispered to the darkness, "Just give me time." Time had listened, and time had answered.